Good evening. My name is Jason Colleen, and I'm an Assistant Executive Director with the Department of Cannabis Regulation, and I would like to welcome you to tonight's webinar, Do I Qualify as a Social Equity Individual Applicant? Tonight's program will provide an overview of the Social Equity Individual Applicant Eligibility Verification Request process. Before we get started, I would like to take a moment to review some general housekeeping rules. First, this webinar is being recorded and may be viewed on DCR's website later this week. Members of the public will be muted with cameras off for the duration of the webinar. Only panelists may access camera and audio functions during this webinar. There's an open Q&A chat box where you can ask questions related to tonight's presentation. At the conclusion of the formal presentation, we will have a 40-minute question and answer session. We received over 100 questions in advance of tonight's webinar, and we plan to answer about 25 to 30 of those questions before beginning to address some of the questions that were asked tonight. Please do not share personal information through this public forum. North Star Alliance is also offering a limited number of free one-on-one virtual sessions. During these sessions, NSA may let requesters know if a document complies with the city's eligibility verification requirements. NSA will not be determining if documents meet the eligibility requirements, like reviewing addresses to determine if they're located in a disproportionately impacted area. Finally, please note that the content presented tonight was not created by the Department of Cannabis Regulation or the City of Los Angeles, and it is intended for informational purposes only. This information is subject to change and does not replace or supersede the Los Angeles Municipal Code nor constitute legal advice. If you have specific questions, please call 213-978-0738 during business hours, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. to speak with the DCR representative. Without further ado, I am pleased to introduce this evening's subject matter expert, Courtney Lang. Courtney is a California-based consultant specializing in cannabis real estate, licensing, and business development. At this time, I'd like to welcome Courtney, and feel free to start sharing your screen and starting your presentation. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Courtney Lang. I'm pleased to be here with you this evening. For today's webinar, I'm going to walk you through the Social Equity Individual Applicant Eligibility Verification Request Form. And this will actually be a physical walkthrough of the form. However, what we'll do today is we're going to start with the first with the eligibility verification request requirements and criteria. Number two, we're going to have a few slides that are going to give you tips before you start. And then the third item is when we'll walk over to the JOT form or the request form, and we're going to show you how to actually walk through step by step. After that, we'll conclude this webinar with a robust question and answer segment, as Jason mentioned. First, we'll start off with the Social Equity Individual Applicant Eligibility Verification requirements. In 2020, the City Council mandated that retail, delivery, and cultivation licensing activities be restricted to verified social equity individual applicants through January 1st, 2025. The 60-day eligibility verification period is the only eligibility verification period in 2022. If you do not get verified during this eligibility verification period, you will not be able to submit your eligibility verification request until the process reopens in 2023 or later. Social equity individual applicants verified under the updated criteria may apply for non-storefront delivery and cultivation commercial cannabis licenses, as well as participate in the public convenience or necessity process for retail storefront and cultivation commercial cannabis licenses. The public convenience or necessity process is also known as the PCN process, in case you hear us refer to it as that later in the presentation. The social equity individual applicant verified under the updated criteria with a qualifying prior California cannabis arrest or conviction may register for the Phase 3 Retail Round 2 lottery. Now let's take a look at the social equity individual eligibility verification criteria. Individuals may seek verification as a social equity individual applicant to apply for license types that are reserved for social equity applicants such as retail storefront, delivery, or cultivation. To qualify as a social equity individual applicant, an individual must meet 2 or more of the following 3 criteria. Number 1, low income in 2020 or 2021. Number 2, a California cannabis arrest or conviction prior to November 8th, 2016. Or number 3, 10 years cumulative residency in a disproportionately impacted area. Next, let's take a look at what you need to know and what tasks you need to complete before submitting your social equity individual applicant eligibility verification request form. What you need to know before submitting an eligibility verification request form online. First off, the eligibility verification window will be open 60 calendar days beginning on May 26th and closing July 25th, 2022 at 4:00 p.m. Pacific time. You will submit your social equity individual applicant eligibility verification request form online. There is no paper process for submitting this form. This request will be used by the DCR to verify if an individual can be verified as a social equity individual applicant. This request process will provide you an opportunity to submit the information and upload documents required to verify your eligibility as a social equity individual applicant. Some more items that you should know before you start. In order for you to submit a complete and successful eligibility verification request, you must determine which criteria you qualify for and collect the documentation required to demonstrate that you qualify. We strongly advise you watch the social equity individual applicant eligibility verification informational videos before you start your submission. You will need to submit several documents. Accepted file formats include JPEG, PDF, Word, Docs, or PNGs. One of the tips I wanted to share with everybody is if you do need to turn a paper document into an electronic document, but you don't have access to a scanner like me, you may download a scanner application on your phone to enable you to combine multiple images into a single document. So again, if you've got a citation or some form of a record that you want to upload to your eligibility verification request, you don't have a scanner, there's handy apps on your phone, whether you have an Apple phone, it's all on your apps app, and you can look it up and find out what you need. Next, once the request period closes at 4:00 p.m. on Monday, July 25th, your submission is final and you may not provide additional or missing documentation. The eligibility verification request process will not open again until 2023 or later. The link to the eligibility verification request form is available now on DCR's website. You can access it by going to cannabis.lacity.org. Again, the website is cannabis.lacity.org. In addition, one other item that you'll need is an ACA reference ID number in order to submit an eligibility verification request form. And we will show you how to get your ACA reference ID if you don't already have one. This concludes the PowerPoint presentation portion of this webinar. And next, I'm going to head over to the website where we'll show you how to access the request form, and we'll take a walkthrough step by step each of the sections of the form. Okay, one thing I wanted to start off is just by showing you from the cannabis regulation website how to either access your ACA ID number or how to obtain a new ACA ID number. What you'll do is once you go to the cannabis.lacity.org website, you'll see the licensing tab up at the top. And if you look at the menu bar, you'll see on the right-hand side, apply for a license. So again, the licensing tab, you'll find up at the top. And then the menu, the drop-down menu will show you a selection of apply for a license. So once you hit apply for a license, it'll bring you further to another page. And this blue button here, click here to access the DCR licensing portal, otherwise known as Excella. This is where you will be able to get an ACA reference ID. If you have one already, you would just simply type in your username and password, log in, and obtain your ACA reference ID number. If you do not have an ACA reference ID number, simply register to apply for a license here. Click that button, and this is going to allow you to register for your ACA reference ID number. So you'll go through and continue the registration. It's pretty simple. It's just going to ask you for the name of the person or individual that's applying for the profile and some basic information such as addresses, phone numbers, emails. So very basic information. And this is how you would apply for your ACA reference ID number. As I mentioned, you do need the ACA reference ID number to submit the social equity individual eligibility verification request form. Now let's show you how to access the eligibility verification request form. So again, I'm back at the cannabis.lacity.org homepage. Up at the top menu bar, you'll see social equity program. And from the drop-down menu, you'll see eligibility verification -individual. So you'll click on that menu bar item. And this page in and of itself has a ton of resources. If you scroll down, you'll see that it's going to provide you the basic information about this eligibility verification request period. It also is going to provide you with a whole bunch of information regarding the actual criteria, as you can see here. In addition, it talks about the phase 3 retail round 2 lottery, which this eligibility verification is required in order for you to register for the phase 3 retail round 2 lottery, but it is not the lottery. The last section of this page is going to be resources, which is very robust, and we have quite a few. We've got checklists. We have some of the videos and presentations that we have conducted previously. And we also have here the link for free one-on-one virtual assistance. So this is where you can sign up for the one-on-one appointments that North Star is offering, and I'll be available to help. This is where you can share your actual documentation or your questions about the criteria that you're looking to qualify for. And I can help you with making sure you've got what you need collected and help to answer some questions. So again, this is a really helpful web page. I'm just going to show you how to navigate there one more time. Cannabis.lacity.org. From the menu bar, you'll click social equity program, and then you've got eligibility verification -individual. And here you have online social equity individual applicant eligibility verification request form. This section is where you'll be able to find a direct link to the form. I already started a draft, but just disregard this page for right now. We'll come back to that, and I'll show you why that screen might pop up for you later on once you've started your eligibility verification. But if you had just pressed the button for the social equity individual applicant eligibility verification request form, and you haven't touched that link before, you haven't started your registration yet, this is the page that's going to pop up for you. This is just a title page where clearly it's stating the title of this program and this form. And what you'll do is just click start to begin your submission. The second page is a notification regarding two important functions of this verification request form. First off, we want you to know that you can save and come back to your verification request. I will demonstrate this later on in the presentation as it's an extremely important function. I'll make sure I hit that one a couple of times just in case people have to walk away or aren't writing something down and don't see me do it. So I'll make sure everybody knows how to save and come back to their verification request form. The second item that this is noting is that the request window closes promptly at 4 o'clock on July 25th, 2022. And the notification reads as such. On July 25th, 2022, at 4 o'clock p.m., access to this request form will be disabled and the eligibility verification request window will close. The information and documents uploaded to this request form on July 25th, 2022 at 4 p.m. will be reviewed by DCR to determine verification eligibility. Information and documents uploaded to this form cannot be changed or amended after July 25th, 2022 at 4 o'clock p.m. And late submissions will not be accepted. Incomplete and or deficient submissions may not be cured after July 25th, 2022 at 4 o'clock p.m. Prior to July 25th, 2022 at 4 o'clock p.m., you may return to this form at a later time to edit prior responses or add additional information and documents by hitting submit and or continue later at the end of the questions. Once you have read this statement and understand the notification on this page, simply click Next to continue. This is the third page of the social equity individual eligibility verification, and it is a disclaimer. It's a lot of similar information. I won't read this one through to you, but the last one stated that obviously you need to have all of your information in before the deadline. You can't update it. This one is just reiterating what the criteria is. And we're going to go through that a couple more times through this presentation, so I won't reread this disclaimer. But again, everybody must read it. And once you understand this disclaimer, you'll click the next button. From this point forward, you can save and close your presentation and continue later. And again, here I've already saved my answers, so you'll see it says answers saved. But regardless, this icon, the floppy disk, is what you're going to want to press. From this point forward, you can save your application and come back. And what it's going to do is when you hit that button, it will either you can either share a draft with you, send this to your email. It also, if you wanted to, you can create an account with your email address. And JotForm, you've heard me say it a couple times, JotForm is just the software that we're using to create this form for you. But JotForm, this would be if you want to create an online account with JotForm and have that account hold this eligibility verification request form for you. You can create this and have it send the link to your account. There's really no need to set up this account if you don't want to. So you would just hit skip create an account. Again, this will populate the email that you put in the requester information form. And you can hit send and get a shareable link, whatever you would like to do. You can hit send. You can also get a link copied to your clipboard. And you'll be able to access this form from the link that's sent to your email or the link that you copied to your clipboard. So we are back to the first page of this form. You've gone through the introductory slides, the disclaimer. Now you're at this first portion, which is the requester information. What you'll need here is you're going to need to enter information such as your first name, your last name, the email address you would like associated with this form. You'll also need to enter your date of birth, your phone number, and the ACA reference ID number that we talked about earlier. You'll either already have one because you have submitted a license application already, or you are a licensee. In that case, you will already have an ACA reference ID number. If you haven't submitted a license yet through the city's portal, you'll need to create that ACA reference ID and get a username and password through Excella. So that being said, once you've got the requester information completed, let's move on to the next portion of the request form. First up, we'll be taking a look at the criteria. Number one, verification of California cannabis arrest or conviction. This is just the title slide, so when you're ready, we'll hit next. This page is going to give you information on the criteria. So California cannabis arrest or conviction means an arrest or conviction in California for any crime under the laws of the state of California or the United States relating to the sale, possession, use, manufacture, or cultivation of cannabis that occurred prior to November 8th, 2016. Very important note is that if an arrest or prosecution or conviction, if you've received this for a violation of Proposition D, then this is not considered a California cannabis arrest or conviction that qualifies for this program. So again, Prop D violations do not count towards this criteria. As you'll see, I just slipped up and hit one of these things over here on our progress bar. You can move around on the progress bar, obviously, if you hit these, but we'll show you later that function as when it's useful, not to distract you. Let's see. This slide is, again, just going to reiterate what the qualifying California cannabis arrest or conviction is. If you are looking to qualify, you will click yes, and will be asked to provide more information. If you are not going to be submitting information and documents for this criteria, you'll click no, hit next, and it will conclude the section on California cannabis arrest and conviction. For the purpose of this webinar, we want to show you what you'll be asked to do if you are looking to qualify under the California cannabis arrest or conviction criteria. And when you click yes, it's going to bring you to this next portion of the form where you're asked to describe your California cannabis arrest or conviction. Very basic information here. And what it is we're going to ask you for the location of your California cannabis arrest or conviction, the date of the cannabis arrest or conviction, and then the type of activity related to the California cannabis arrest or conviction. So you'll see here for my example, I put that the location was Los Angeles. The date was December 1st, 2001, and that it was for cannabis cultivation. Once you've entered this information, you will click next. If you would like to provide details for additional California cannabis arrests or convictions prior to November 8th, 2016, you'll click the button yes, and it's going to lead you to a section of the form that looks just like the one we previously filled out. If you are not, you'll click no and hit next. The information portion of the California cannabis arrest or conviction criteria is now complete. And the next portion of making sure you are qualified for this criteria is to provide government records or documents to evidence a California cannabis arrest or conviction. And so if you have the documentation, you will click yes. If you do not, you will click no and press next. Let's say you do have the information or the documents that are required. DCR accepts certified copies of court records and or other documents such as government records that reflect the requester's California cannabis arrest or conviction prior to November 8th, 2016. So we click yes and next. And simply what you'll want to do is have the files ready to go. My suggestion is always to label them clearly. So I have them on my on my desktop, you can just drag the file right here and it'll pop up and you can click next. If you don't have it on your desktop and you're not dragging it over here, certainly what you can do is click Browse Files, and it will bring up your Finder, and you'll be able to locate the file wherever you have it saved on your computer, whatever folder you have it in. You can find it again once you hit that Browse File button, and you'll upload it simply to this portion of the form. And that's really all there is to it. Remember, again, just labeling them appropriately is good. So this is a ticket that I'm uploading directly to this form. And just to note too, before we move on here, one or more government records and or documents may be uploaded as evidence. If the legal name listed on the government records and or documents differs from the legal name associated with your ACA reference ID, you must provide supporting documentation to demonstrate the relationship between the two legal names. So a very common situation might be if you've married since you received the ticket or citation. And in that case, you'll want to provide your marriage certificate. Just remember that whatever it is that you're providing to further demonstrate the relationship between the name that's on your document and the name that's on your ACA reference ID number is that you want it to be a government document, something that is official, and to show that, again, the name on your document that you're uploading for this criteria relates to the name that is on your ACA reference ID number. Once you've uploaded the document, then you'll want to click Next. And this concludes the California Cannabis Arrest and or Conviction section. Now, certainly this might be a time in which you want to save and continue later. Just remember that the function for saving and continue later is down here, this little floppy disk icon, and you'll click there to get your link to which you can utilize to come back to exactly where you left off on this form. The next criteria that we will take a look at is the verification of income and assets. Again, we want to make sure we provide you with information to ensure that as you're filling out this form, you know exactly how to qualify for this criteria, the information that you need to provide, as well as the documents. So that being said, here we have the definition of low income. Low income means both of the following definitions are met. Number one, the social equity individual applicant meets the low income thresholds established in the annual U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development income limits based upon the area median income for Los Angeles County based on household size. So there's the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD. They have a 2020 or 2021 study, and it's going to show you the area median income for Los Angeles County based on household size. And if you meet that threshold, that's the first criteria, or the first portion of this criteria. The second one is that the social equity individual applicant then must not exceed the 4 times the low income threshold based on their household size for assets. So you've got the actual income reported on your IRS is the first portion of this criteria, and then your assets. And we'll walk you through step by step how to ensure that both parts of this criteria are met, and how to obtain the information that will help you figure that out. Make that a little bit bigger for everybody so you can read along, but okay, so the first one is, what is your household size? Household size means the number of individuals that meet any of the following criteria. Number one, they're a spouse or domestic partner. 2, all household members who are under the age of 18 as claimed on the most recent income tax return. 3, pregnant applicants may be counted as 2 household members with verifiable medical documentation. And 4, temporarily absent household members listed on the requester's most recent tax return who intend to live in the residence upon return may be considered. So this is important stuff to consider, and it might apply to you, it might not. But again, if you're trying to determine your household size, it's you, number one. And then this is how you would determine who else is included in your household size. You'll include spouses and domestic partners, all household members who are under the age of 18 and claimed on your income tax return. If one of the household members is pregnant, you can count them as 2. You'll just want to make sure that you have verifiable medical documentation that you upload to this form in order to determine that that is an additional household member. Then 4, temporarily absent household members listed on the requester's most recent tax return who intend to live in the residence upon return may be considered as a household member. Individuals not listed on the requester's most recent tax return, such as elderly relatives, live-in assistants, and foster children, will not be counted toward household size. Okay, so hopefully that helps you figure out your household size. From there, once you have determined, you will select the household size here. I'm going to select 1 and click next. The next part of this is, okay, now I know my household size. What is my income limit for 2020? So here you have, again, the Los Angeles County median incomes for these household sizes. So for a household size of 1 in 2020, the income limit is $63,100. For 2020, again, household size of 2, the income limit is $72,100. So as you see, you can find based on your household size for 2020, or here's 2021, what is the income limit for my household size? So we provide this in the form for you. Once you figure out your household size, you can locate this chart directly in the form. Additionally, if you click on this image, it's going to bring you to HUD's report. So you can find even more information. I mean, realistically, this is all you need from that HUD study. But if you want to, certainly you are able to go directly to the study. You just click on the image and here you have it. You're at the 2020 income limits for Los Angeles County here. All right, you've established your household size. You've established what the income threshold is for your household size. This next portion of the form is going to ask you, were you considered low income in 2020 or 2021? Again, as I mentioned, you've got that study, you've got the chart, you've got all the information you need to figure this out. It's a simple yes or no. And so if it's no, you're going to click no, and it'll bring you to the end of this criteria, this portion of the form. If you click yes and next, it's going to ask you about evidence, such as documents, to really show that you are eligible for this criteria, under this criteria. So just to reiterate here, again, you've got to provide documentation. You've given us the information that says and states that you qualify, but now we need the documents to evidence your income. So requesters that are married and file taxes separately must provide documentation for the requester and the requester's spouse. Just want to make sure that you can be married and filing separately. So you'll have 2 separate tax returns. If you are married and filing separately, that is a box that you as an individual check on your IRS tax returns. So it will, the city of LA, the DCR will know that you're married filing separately. If that's the case, you need to provide your spouse's tax returns as well. If you don't provide your spouse's tax returns, you will be disqualified. So again, requesters that are married and file taxes separately must provide documentation for the requester and the requester's spouse. The DCR will only accept complete copies. So complete copies of your IRS tax returns. It must include all pages and schedules of the following categories of documents to verify income. So first off, you've got the requester's federal tax returns for the calendar year 2020 and or 2021. We need complete filed copies only. So the requester needs to provide the federal tax returns for 2020 or 2021. Check. The next part of this is that the spouse of the requester's federal tax returns must also be uploaded for the calendar year 2020 and or 2021 if you are filed or married and filing separately. If you're not married, if you're married and you're not filing separately, you just have one tax return for the two of you. So it's only if you are filing separately. For non-filers, there is an IRS verification of non-filing form. This form will prove it is proof from the IRS that you did not file a return for the 2020 or 2021 tax year. Use the IRS form 4506-T to order a verification of non-filing transcript or form 1040-series transcripts, which are free of charge. For more information, please visit www.irs.gov/form 4506-T. So form 4506-T is important if you don't have a copy or have not filed tax returns and you're a non-filer for 2020 or 2021. Okay, that was a review of the documents that are going to be required. And if you do not have the documents, you'll click no, next, and it'll bring you to the end of this criteria, or the phase of the part of this form that is around low income. And if you do have the documents, you're going to click yes. And next. So on this next page of the form, you will be asked to upload complete federal tax returns for 2020 and or 2021, or the IRS verification of non-filing documents to evidence your income. You can, again, as I showed you before, have the form on your desktop, drag it, and it will upload. Or you can click Browse File. It will bring you to your computer's Finder application, which will then allow you to search and or navigate to the document and upload it directly. That said, so you've got your documents uploaded, and you may continue on with the final or with the next portion of this criteria regarding assets, or as I like to mention here, this floppy disk down here. If you've done enough for the day and you want to come back, or you need to go collect more documents, you can always save your form and come back to it and continue later by clicking this floppy disk icon. But let's move forward now to the second portion of this criteria, which is assets. Again, we want to make sure we provide as much information that will help you understand what the criteria requirements are and what's needed to provide evidence. For the purpose of this program, asset means net assets. Your net assets need to be at or below 4 times the low income thresholds based on household size. Examples of liquid accounts that shall be disclosed include, but are not limited to, savings accounts, checking accounts, certificates of deposit, money market accounts, stocks, trusts, and gifts, qualified retirement accounts, and an applicant's primary residence shall be excluded for the purposes of the calculation. So again, qualified retirement accounts and the applicant's primary residence shall be excluded for the purposes of this calculation. But other forms of real estate should be included. Such retirement accounts are limited to accounts that are intended for retirement and that would incur a penalty if withdrawn before a specified retirement age per each account. So that's important to note. Any Investment property does need to be counted towards the assets. However, your primary residence does not. Additionally, your retirement accounts that will receive a penalty if you withdraw the monies, those you do not need to count towards your assets. So once you've read over the definition of asset, you're ready to move forward with this portion of the criteria. And you're probably wondering, how do I provide the information for the asset requirement? DCR has made this pretty simple. And you have what's called the asset attestation form. The number for this form is SEP-6003-form. And you'll use this form to verify that you do not possess assets in excess of the established asset threshold. As with the other sections of this form, simply you can click on the image below and it's going to bring you to this form in which you can fill out, save to your computer, and upload. And so the asset attestation form, we've certainly got the requester information that you saw on the first page of this form, such as your name, phone number, ACA reference ID number, email, and mailing address. So make sure this all matches with the requester information page that we showed you on the first page of the form. Additionally, what you're going to provide is the requester's 2020 income amount, as well as the household size, or the 2021 income of the requester or household size. So you only need to do one or the other. Certainly you can provide both, but you only need to do one or the other, 2020 or 2021. The next section, you'll be asked to put the income limit based on household size. And you can click here to bring you to the handy page that we showed you that brings you the chart that has all the information for 2020 or 2021 income limits. And so you, if you're like me, you've had a household size of 1. So the low income limit for 2020 is $63,100. So you'll put that information here. And then the last part is simply put what the amount in your savings account, checkings account, all of these accounts listed. You want to put the value in each of the asset categories provided. You can also, if you don't have one of these, maybe you don't have a stock or a trust or gift, then you can simply write NA in this section. Once you've provided the balances in these accounts, the last part of this form is you'll want to write your name, date, and then sign this form. Once you've completed it, save it to your desktop or somewhere on your computer where you'll be able to upload it to the form. Once you have this form and are ready to go, you'll want to upload the asset attestation form here. As I've shown you, you can drag it to upload it. This little check mark here will either show you that, yes, it's been uploaded. You can also, if you've got duplicates or maybe you uploaded the wrong file, you can always remove it. Again, you can drag and drop, or you can click the Browse Files button and you can upload directly from your desktop or from a folder on your computer. Once you've provided us this form, you're ready to move on to the next criteria. And this concludes the income and asset section of the form. Again, if you're ready to go, you can click next. If you want to save and continue later, click the floppy disk icon and you'll be able to get a link. You can use, it's going to be the same link throughout. So if you save it today, or if you save it further down the road, it's always going to bring you back to your form. You don't have to worry about making duplicates. Every time you save it, you'll come back to the same form and that link will bring you back to wherever you left off. Our last criteria for this evening that we're going to review is verification of residency in a disproportionately impacted area. For this criteria, you need a minimum of 10 years cumulative residency to qualify. So click next to get started. First off, we'll define what is a disproportionately impacted area. And this means it's a police reporting districts as established in the expanded social equity analysis, or as established using the same methodology and criteria in a similar analysis provided by an applicant for an area outside of the city. So again, you've got the police reporting districts as established in the LA DCR's expanded social equity analysis, or you can establish what a disproportionately impacted area is outside of the city of LA, but you need to use the same methodology and criteria, and you need to provide a similar analysis for that area, and you would need to provide that to the city of LA independently. DCR licensing map is how you are going to determine if you lived in a disproportionately impacted area. So this is what DCR calls the licensing map, and there's a social equity program layer that will highlight all the disproportionately impacted areas in pink. And when you search your address, it's going to zoom in to that address. And if it's in a pink area, that means it's in a disproportionately impacted area. If it's not in one of the highlighted pink areas, that means it's not in a disproportionately impacted area, and it will not help you to qualify for this criteria. Certainly, like the rest of the pages in the form that have images, it's going to lead you to the resource that will be able to directly help you confirm whether or not your addresses qualify. So when you get here, first you'll just click OK for the disclaimer. And the important first part of navigating this map is to go over to this layer list. So you'll see the icon that looks like a couple of layers on top of each other. And you'll want to make sure that you highlight social equity program. This blue checkbox makes sure that the disproportionately impacted areas are now highlighted on the map of LA. As you can see, these pink highlighted areas are all disproportionately impacted areas. And the next thing you'll want to do is, if you have one address, easy peasy, you just type the address in here, hit the search bar, and if it's shows up in a disproportionately impacted area, it's going to look like this. It'll be highlighted. And that means that your address qualifies. And you can search as many addresses as you need, one at a time, and to verify if your addresses qualify. Some folks might have one address, some may have 10. I hope not 10, because that's a lot of documentation, but hey, if that's what you need to qualify under this criteria, you're going to do it. So this is the handy map that will show you if your addresses qualify. All right, back to the form. Let's say you've got your addresses confirmed. You've taken a look at this map and verified. You're ready to enter the information required for this criteria. So, have you resided in a disproportionately impacted area for at least 10 years cumulatively? An example would be if you lived in the DIA for 5 years, moved away for 2 years, then moved back for an additional 5 years, then that would count as 10 cumulative years. So just as a clarification, cumulative can be over your entire lifetime, added up to 10. The years over a lifetime just need to add up to 10 is what we mean by cumulative. It does not need to be consecutive 10 years. Once you've verified that you've resided in the disproportionately impacted areas for at least 10 years, you'll click yes and move on to providing the information. So for each year, 1 through 10, you are going to be required to provide the following information. The calendar year for year 1, what is it? It's 2022 Is it 2021? Is it 1999? Whatever the calendar year is for the first year that you are looking to qualify under, you'll put it here. Then the supporting document type for year one. What is it that you will be uploading for the supporting document? And then also you'll need to provide the address for year one. Again, you need 10 cumulative years. So for each of those 10 years, if it is the same address, you will provide this information for each of those calendar years. If they are different addresses, certainly, again, you'll need to provide the year, what supporting document you're using, as well as what the address is. Regardless, another piece of information that's important, obviously, besides the year and the address, is what is that supporting document? Some folks might have it easy, and there might be one utility bill that shows, or one letter from a utility company that says this person has been living at this address for X amount of years, from 1992 to 2022, paying their utility bill. That might be one document that verifies you for all 10 years, but some folks might need various documents. And so therefore, if you have various documents, just make sure you clearly state which document correlates to what year and what address. So again, for each of the years 1 through 10, you'll provide that information. Once you have provided the information required for each of the 10 years, you'll need to provide the documents that correlate with each of them. And the documents are more important than the information. The information is important and required, but at the end of the day, you really need to make sure that you get the documentation straight and that all of the documents are uploaded. Don't want to miss any. So would you like to provide residency details for any additional years? You don't need to provide it for more than 10, but maybe you're unsure of one of the documents that you have. And so therefore you have some other addresses that qualify. You can certainly hit yes and provide additional years. If you do not intend to, you'll click no and continue on to the last part of this criteria, which is documents. So do you have any of these documents? The DCR will accept the following categories of documents to verify your residency. A sufficient number of documents must be uploaded to evidence the entire 10-year period. First, a federal or state tax returns for the calendar year. You could do a property deed, mortgage documents, or residential lease agreements. Financial records reflecting the lease or mortgage payments that are dated and contain an applicant's name and address. Records reflecting government housing or other assistance that are dated and contain an applicant's name and address. You can also do utility bills, car registration, employment records, insurance documents, or government issued documents that are dated and contain an applicant's name or address. The key here is that the applicant's name and address are on this document. Another one that's good is a certified education record. So if you're qualifying for an address during your primary or elementary or high school years, these would be great records to demonstrate that you lived at an address that is a qualifying disproportionately impacted area and it has your name on it. So transcripts, enrollment documents, anything from your school that has, again, the applicant's name and the address will help qualify. This last page will be where you attach documents to verify your residency. And you can simply update or upload your files by dragging them here or clicking the browse files. You can certainly take them off as I showed you before. But here I've provided a utility bill. And again, you'll want to make sure that you have all the documentation that you needed for the 10 years. Some documents are going to be good for all 10 years. And then other times you might need something for 1 year or for 3 years. So just make sure everything's in there. This concludes the residency in a disproportionately impact area section. And it also it concludes the review of the request form that you are required to submit for the verification request for the social equity individual applicant. Here, again, you can click save if you're not ready to submit and you want to come back. Certainly this save button will work. You can also click submit and or continue later if you submit this application, you can still come back and add and change information once it's submitted. The important thing to know is that everything needs to be in there by July 25th, 2022 at 4:00 p.m. So whether you submit it or whether you want to just save and continue later, again, it doesn't matter. You can still come back and upload stuff, but you only have till July 25th, 2022. With that, I am excited to move forward onto this next segment of our presentation, which is our Q&A from the City of LA DCR's registration of this webinar. And we're also going to have some questions that came through on today's webinar. So thank you for joining us on this portion of the webinar. And I am going to cue our tech team to put up our Q&A slide. And I am going to let Jason Killeen take it away with answering some questions. Hopefully everybody who submitted a question through the registration form is here today that we've chosen. Our first question is going to be from Kelly M. Jason, Kelly's question is, if a social equity applicant is already approved and operating from phase 1, do they have to apply again for phase 3 retail?
So the individual's 2019 verification is good for existing records. So whether it's a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 retail round 1, that verification will stay with that existing record. However, they will have to be verified again and have a qualifying California cannabis arrest or conviction to register for the phase 3 retail round 2 lottery. So it really depends on what they're trying to do. If it's associated with an existing record, the existing verification will continue to be good for that record. If they're looking to apply for or register for the phase 3 retail round 2 lottery, or apply after this calendar year, they'll have to get verified under the new criteria.
Okay. Very helpful. Sounds like to me, better be safe rather than sorry, and submit for this eligibility verification. And that just, it provides a safeguard here in case you're looking to apply for new licenses. Okay, Kelly M, we got another question from you. Lucky you. Question number 2 from Kelly M is, what can I apply for? Cultivation, manufacturing, distribution, micro business, retail? Again, what can she apply for?
So using the existing verification, a verified social equity individual applicant with or without a California cannabis arrest or conviction can apply for non-storefront delivery, distribution, non-volatile manufacturing, cultivation processor, nursery, and testing commercial cannabis licenses. Again, if they want to register for the phase 3 retail round 2 lottery, folks will have to get verified under the updated criteria and have a qualifying California cannabis arrest or conviction prior to November 8th, 2016.
Okay, yeah, helpful. And I think that's definitely a majority of webinar participants want to apply for phase 3 retail round 2 lottery. So this is definitely the form for you to submit if you're looking to participate in phase 3 retail round 2 lottery. Okay, our next question is from Morgan E, and she's wondering, how much does a license cost?
So a chart of DCR's fees can be found under Los Angeles Municipal Code section 10419. A chart of the state's fees can be found on their website, which is the Department of Cannabis Control. An applicant should expect to pay over $10,000 combined for local and state application and license fees per activity. From time to time, fee waivers are available for qualified social equity individual applicants for city fees, state fees, or both.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, our next question is from Jeb B. The question is, when will we be able to find out if we got selected?
So we're not going to begin reviewing the eligibility request forms until after the submission window closes on Monday, July 25th, 2022 at 4 p.m. So we'll begin reviewing those requests on a rolling basis. And, depending on where your request was submitted, you may or may not get a result in August or September. But DCR has 90 days to, or at least 90 days to process the eligibility verification requests submitted during the 60-day window. So, you would expect to see it sometime within that 90-day period after we close.
Okay. And yeah, I think maybe something folks might be worried about is they want to make sure they get approved before the lottery opens, and the city's not going to open the lottery before all of those registrations or the forms get processed, right?
Correct.
Cool.
So completing the eligibility verification request process is kind of a prerequisite for administering the lottery. So that's why we haven't, provided any concrete dates for when the registration for the lottery will open or when the lottery will be conducted, because we just don't know how long it's going to take to get everything processed until we know what the volume of requests are.
Great. Well, this is another good question by Jeff B. And his question, or her question, sorry, might be how many people will get selected?
So there's no limit on the number of folks that can be verified as social equity individual applicants. And, we think there will be approximately 125 retail storefront licenses that would be made available through the lottery that folks would have the opportunity to apply for if they were selected via the lottery.
Amazing. That's a lot of licenses, 125 retail licenses only available to social equity individual applicants. That's great. All right. Our next question is from Daryl C. His question reads, I have marijuana charges, but it was over 30 years ago and the court destroyed the documents. Can I still submit a certified letter stating that, and will it be accepted?
So you'll need to provide dated documentation from the citing agency, the court, or other government entity involved with the arrest or conviction, which lists your name, the corresponding penal code sections you were cited under, and provides dates for when you were cited for that penal code violation. A certified letter from the court that provides your name, arrest conviction dates, and the penal code sections may work, but a personal attestation would not be accepted.
Okay. Well, that must be a relief for Daryl C. There is a way forward, even though you might not have a court document now, but again, you just need to get a certified government document or court record that has your name, the arrest or conviction, and the date. Awesome. Okay, our next question, Daryl C. again. I was able to obtain my federal conviction where it involved marijuana, guns, and cocaine, drug trafficking. Will that be accepted as far as prior convictions go?
It depends. Folks can get qualified as a social equity individual applicant based on the California cannabis arrest or conviction. However, there could be things in their criminal history that would preclude them from being an owner of a commercial cannabis license in the city of Los Angeles. So you can both qualify as a social equity individual applicant, but have something in your criminal history that would preclude you from being able to be an owner on an application for commercial cannabis licensure with the city. So it really depends on your personal situation and what's in your history.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, case by case basis sounds like. Okay, our next question is Kenji K. And the question reads, can I request more than one type of license on my social equity program application?
So that'll depend on the license type that they're applying for. If they're already a verified social equity individual applicant, they have the ability to apply for nursery, distribution, transport only, or testing. For those activities, you can only request one activity per application record. However, if they're looking to apply for a mix of non-storefront delivery, non-volatile manufacturing, distribution, and cultivation processor, those activities can all be listed on the same application.
Got it. Okay. Our next question is from John K. John K asked, is it necessary to have a business entity like a sole proprietorship registered or licensed in the city of Los Angeles in order to receive the cannabis license from the city of Los Angeles?
Yes.
Simple answer. Great. That's a yes. Okay. Edward K asks, can a qualified social equity individual applicant live out of state?
Yes.
Okay, great. Jose Luis S asks, is there any way to attend this event online? And also, is it going to be recorded for replay?
So this event, of course, is online, and a recording will be posted on DCR's website later this week.
Okay. Next question is from Barnabas S. The question reads, do you still have my paperwork from 2019?
If you were previously verified in 2019, or you participate in that process by uploading documentation to your DCR licensing portal user account, then the documents you uploaded or submitted would be on your user account. So you can download them from your DCR licensing portal user account and upload them to the current SEIA verification request form.
That's really good information to know, because I'm sure at this point, since 2019, it's possible some folks have misplaced documents that they submitted. And so you can log into your Excel user account, download those documents, and then re-upload them with this eligibility verification request form. Excellent. We got another great question from Barnabas S. And his question is, who needs to pay the verification fee?
So we have limited state grant funding to provide social equity individual applicant eligibility verification request fee waivers, which we're issuing on a first come, first served basis based on folks submitting their verification request. Once the state grant funding has been depleted, DCR will be issuing invoices for the $597 eligibility verification fee.
Awesome. Next question from David W. What if I, as a SCIA, already have a business establishment?
If you are a previously verified social equity individual applicant and have an existing record that relies upon that verification, the new verification period doesn't cause you to lose your verification status for that specific record. However, if you're wishing to participate in the phase 3 retail round 2 lottery, future PCN processes, or plan to apply for a social equity commercial cannabis license after 2022, you'll need to get verified again under the current process.
Okay, excellent. Next question from David W. is, what does the grant cover?
So we have limited state funding for the social equity individual applicant eligibility verification request fee waiver of $597. So the fee waivers we have available for this process will only cover the eligibility verification request fee of $597.
Okay, one more from David W. Will I be notified about my eligibility form if there's something wrong prior to the closing date on July 25th?
No.
Okay, right, because you can't change your form after July 25th, the cutoff date. And it's up to you to get the right information and the forms in there before then.
That's correct.
Okay, next question from Richard L. is, what is the time frame?
So the Eligibility verification request filing period is currently open, and the filing period closes on Monday, July 25th, 2022 at 4 p.m. Pacific time.
Got it. Okay, yeah, I've got a calendar appointment on my calendar for that time and that day, and it's reminding me ongoing that that's coming up. So maybe it's a good idea to put that on your calendar, everyone out there. If you're looking to take as much time as you possibly can to put this together, make sure you've got that deadline on your calendar so you know before it happens. Next question from Demetrius C is, will your new application cancel out your old one?
So if you were previously verified and you have an existing record that relies upon that verification, this new request period will not cause you to lose your social equity individual status for that record.
Okay. Perfect. Demetrius C has one more question here, and it reads, how soon after the lottery, if you are picked, can you get your license?
The lottery will not be conducted until later this year. Social equity individual applicants selected via the lottery will have up to 1 year to complete the pre-application review process. And then, of course, if folks timely submit their pre-application review record, and that record is processed and you receive a status of eligible for processing, you'll have up to 1 year to submit your temporary approval application. So folks will have 1 year to submit their pre-application review. And then if it's eligible for further processing, they get an additional year to submit their temporary approval application. So it's really going to be applicant driven once they're notified that they were selected via the lottery. But you couldn't expect to get a license before sometime in 2023. If you identify a location, submit your record, are deemed eligible, and then get your complete application in.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, and it's just important to note, this is not the lottery. This is the portion that you need to submit and get verified for as a social equity individual applicant. So they're two separate processes, but regardless of that, you got two separate processes here. Once the lottery is open, it sounds like you really can't get your license for that retail location until 2023 at the earliest, just based on what you need to do to get there. Okay, next question is Marcus A. And the question reads, why are people that haven't been convicted of a marijuana offense getting licenses?
So local law allows for verified social equity individual applicants to submit social equity applications for various commercial cannabis activities. So the law will dictate what folks who are verified can apply for. And that's what we go off of.
Got it. Yeah, DCR is really just implementing what local law states. And our next question is also from Marcus A. And his question is, will I be able to open my store in my neighborhood of choice?
So social equity individual applicants selected via the Phase 3 Retail Round 2 lottery can submit a pre-application review record in a community plan area that has not reached undue concentration. If you seek to apply in an area that has reached undue concentration, you'll have to secure a PCN finding from the City Council in order to submit an application to DCR. If you're not looking to apply for retail storefront or cultivation, which are both subject to findings of undue concentration, you can submit a non-storefront delivery application, non-volatile manufacturing, distribution, testing in any community plan area.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. It's helpful. Next question is from Brittany B. And the question reads, can a social equity individual applicant qualify as low income if he or she does not live in California and has a tax return from out of state?
Yeah, the requester can apply and submit evidence to be low income, even if they don't live in California, but they'll still need to meet the low income requirements for LA County.
Okay, That's a big one. Thanks for that clarification. So as long as they meet the requirements for Los Angeles County for low income, then they can still look to qualify with this criteria. Okay. Kent L is our next webinar participants whose questions we want to address. And we've got his first one is, I want to update my verification application. How do I go about that?
So if you saved or submitted your eligibility verification request, you would have received an email with a link that will take you back to your request. And then you can go in and you can edit your submissions and resubmit the information or submit updated information to the department.
Okay. And maybe, you know, if you have that or you can't find it or something, I'd suggest searching in your spam box. And just if it's not showing up in your email, that might be where it ended up. As always, check that spam box. Ken L has one more question here, actually two more questions, but first we'll start off with how important is verification and how do I know if I'm verified?
So we can process the eligibility verification request with or without a DCR licensing user account, but the results are going to be posted to somebody's DCR licensing user account, which would enable them to register for the Phase 3 Retail Round 2 lottery or apply for a commercial cannabis license through the DCR licensing portals. We only accept registrations and applications through the licensing portal. So you do have to have a DCR licensing portal account in order to register or submit an application. And then of course, if you do that, you would know whether or not you're verified by looking at your user account.
Okay, gotcha. The last question from Ken L is how important is, oh wait, we already talked about that. Sorry. The last question is, can I still get any waivers? I'm having trouble filling out everything from my smartphone.
So we still have state grant funding available to provide social equity individual applicant eligibility verification request fee waivers. And we're issuing them on a first come, first served basis based on you submitting your eligibility request form to us. Once the state grant funding has been exhausted, we will be charging the verification fee of $597.
Okay. Our next question is, if we have a license in another municipality, can it transfer over to be eligible?
The simple answer is no. Commercial cannabis licenses issued by other municipalities cannot be transferred into a City of Los Angeles commercial cannabis license.
Gotcha. And that's really any jurisdiction. It's not something specific to the city of LA. You can't move a license. They're location specific. Okay, next question was, what's the update on fee waivers?
So again, fee waivers are still available. And I don't know when it's going to be exhausted, but we still have hundreds of fee waivers available for folks submitting eligibility request forms.
Okay, very good. And when you mean first come, first serve, it just means if you hit the submit button, like how is that determined?
You know, filling out the eligibility verification request form, uploading your documents and clicking submit at the end of the process, where you'll get your confirmation email that you submitted it, and it'll give you the ability to edit. That's what we're using to determine how fee waivers are issued. So you do have to submit it to us in order to be eligible to receive a fee waiver.
Okay, gotcha. That gets you your place in line. Okay. Our next question is an ACA reference contact ID and DCR licensing portal user account required to submit a social equity individual applicant eligibility verification request?
So an ACA reference contact ID is assigned when a DCR licensing portal user account is created. So if you have an ACA reference contact ID, you also have a DCR licensing portal user account. So DCR can review the social equity individual applicant eligibility verification request and make a determination about whether or not an individual qualifies with or without that ACA reference contact ID. However, if the requester doesn't have a user account, then that requester, even if verified, can't submit a social equity application or register for the lottery.
Got it. Okay. Well, we got about 5 minutes left here for question and answer. Just kind of want to give everybody a status of where we're at. So again, we've got room for, I'd say, about 5 more questions. And let's start off with, do I need to be verified again for non-storefront delivery?
So if you plan to submit a temporary approval application after 2022, or you want to register for the lottery, then you would have to be verified under the updated criteria. But if you submit, if you're already verified or you get verified through this process and you submit a record in 2022, you won't have to get verified again.
Okay. As I said before, it's better safe than sorry. I would say just get verified under this verification window if you anticipate applying for the lottery, obviously, but even just another license type moving forward, it just sounds like a good idea. If you've got the information, you've got the documents, right now the funding's available, and I'd say go for it. Okay, moving on, we've got another question here, and the question reads, I filed for this a year ago. Is my information still there?
So any documents you uploaded to your DCR licensing portal user account for the 2019 eligibility verification process would still be available on your user account. So just log into your DCR licensing portal account and then navigate to my account. And then under the documents, you'll see whatever documentation you uploaded.
Got it. And really the documents you'd probably be looking for are the documents that evidence you've been convicted or arrested of a California cannabis crime. And so, but the stuff for low income, that was for other years. The low income criteria is now for new set of years, 2020 and 2021. And it also, for the disproportionately impacted areas, maybe you have some documents for that criteria, but again, you'd want to verify that the addresses that you used prior or previously are in fact still included as address in a disproportionately impacted area. Correct, Jason?
That's all correct.
Cool. Okay. Next question is, how many pages of tax returns do you need?
All of them. So whatever you submitted to the IRS, including all schedules, should be submitted to DCR to evidence your income for either calendar year 2020 or 2021.
Okay. Next question is, how do I apply?
So you'll have to submit your social equity eligibility verification online through the form. If you have a disability and need a reasonable accommodation, please reach out to dcr.sep@atleecity.org so that we can connect with you to see how we can assist you in getting your form submitted to us. We do ask that folks submit the accommodation request at least 10 days prior to the date that we close it. So folks should plan to submit it by July 15th.
Okay. I'm kind of skipping around here, Jason, but for the last question, I'm going to ask, how do I know if I'm selected for eligibility?
So if you're verified as part of this process, we will go into your DCR licensing portal user account and update it to reflect the verification status.
Great. I think we have some time for one or two more. So I'm scrolling down here and gonna get one or two more questions that sound like a helpful for concluding this, but all right, this is a good one. Who will facilitate the lottery and how will the lottery be facilitated?
So the lottery will be facilitated by a third party with experience conducting similar processes. Until that vendor is selected, I can't really answer any specific questions about how it's going to be facilitated.
Okay, and I think this is gonna be the last one. It's a really good one though, so I'm glad we're ending with it. This question is from Heather B, and it says, can you please clarify if documents need to be submitted for every year you lived in a disproportionately impacted area?
So in general, to demonstrate residency in a disproportionately impacted area, we need one dated document for each year of residency. There's certain documents issued by city agencies, such as the Department of Water and Power, that may satisfy more than 1 year.
Great. Okay, so I think that about does it for our question and answer portion of the webinar. Jason, thank you so much. You're a wealth of knowledge. I learn something new every time I talk to you, so I'm sure our participants are feeling a little better about this process and their ability to complete the form and provide the correct documentation and information. I hope I see some folks and get to help them through reviewing some of the documents and criteria on our upcoming one-on-ones tomorrow and on Wednesdays through till the end of July. And you can sign up on those at the DCR's website. Jason, I'll let you take it away for closing remarks. It's been a pleasure to panel on this webinar with you.
Thank you so much for your participation tonight and leading a wonderful presentation. And I want to thank everybody for attending this webinar. The webinar was recorded and it will be posted on DCR's website, cannabis.lacity.org. If you have additional questions related to tonight's webinar, please email dcr.sep@lacity.org. Before signing off today, don't forget to fill out the survey with your thoughts on tonight's webinar. The link for the survey will be dropped into the Zoom chat box, and you'll also receive an email with a link to the survey following this event. Again, I do want to iterate that NSA, our North Star Alliance, is offering personalized support and answers to questions through their free virtual assistants with subject matter experts like Courtney. Due to demand, note that each individual is only eligible for one session. If an individual signs up for more than one session, the second session will be removed from their queue. Please note that the sessions are free, so be wary of any individuals who are attempting to charge you for participating in any of NSA's sessions. And that's all I have for tonight. So I would like to thank everybody very much. And I did drop the link to the survey in the chat, so folks have access to it. And have a great night.